Buyers beware, we have hit some major market maker resistance here, and we'll talk about that today in our SPY SPX analysis daily video. It is Wednesday, August 13th, 2025. If you like the content, please give me a thumbs up, hit that button, helps out the channel. Also, come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts, analysis, and live day trading. Anyways, let's get into it here today. So markets today with a little gap up and kind of just a equilibrium from that. And I talked about this. I tweeted this as well. I said directional traders might get in trouble here today. And that was kind of the case. So, from the get-go anyway, if you went long up here, you kind of got stuck at the high of the day. In fact, the morning video I said, morning shorts at 64.80 might be the high of the day, and that was. And then we pulled back. It was a very controlled pullback, but if you got excited about shorts, you kind of just got, I wouldn't say rug pulled, but it did recover by the end of the day. So it was kind of a day where both sides kind of took it a little bit here, but we have hit some major market maker, dealer resistance up here. We can talk about the Russell again. We'll talk about the S&P. Not to beat a dead horse here, but you can see we finally hit the 230 area on the IWM and actually closed above it. This is for Friday. Some calls going in at 233, and even next week, it's possible we could even see, there's interest at 235, 240. Speaking of 235, Apple again. We'll talk about that too. Apple again. We hit the 230 target. Right, but we did push through that, and the exact high of the day was 235. Interest at 240, even at 250 coming up for next week. I don't know if we're going to go that high, but it is up there, and these are levels that are of interest because Apple's an important stock, and the Russell's important too. If we look at the SPX here, you can see 6,500 is up there for Friday. Right, we got to 64.80. My kind of guess, though, right now is we might see a little bit of backing and filling into the end of the week. It is OPEX week, and we've basically just pumped the first, 2 days. Well, it was kind of flat Monday, and then we pumped hard today and yesterday. At least we didn't pump intraday, but, it was up again. So we might see a little bit of a pullback, maybe to 64, maybe 640 SPY. There is a little bit of interest up there, the 65 like we talked about. But that's going to get rejected. It's not going to close above that. So at this point, let's just say we got 20 points away from that. We hit the ODTE max within the first 30 minutes of the day, and that did cause a little bit of a dip here. Again, this isn't a all-out short or anything. I'm not even short really, so I'm not, I just increasing kind of hedges a little bit and, just taking gains on the way up here. We've been in that camp for the last month and a half. And honestly, with the exception of 4, 5, 6 days in the last two, this is where I really aggressively sold the rest of our leverage longs from earlier this year. We've gone up, 100 points, 150. So it's not like there's been much gains being missed out on here, by aggressively taking gains and, just by strategically picking up certain names and taking gains on those. Obviously, we had the Apple play. I've had that since early June, honestly, but lately really broken out and paying off the runners. The IWM we've talked about ad nauseum. And again, it's just I know everybody was, crazy about it. And again, not to beat the dead horse, but, just a pullback pattern here. And technically, you could make a case this is just day one of the breakout, honestly, because we just retested support, and this was the first day we really closed above resistance. So, again, the theory here, and that I've been kind of saying to watch for over the last month is, does the Russell take off, and does the NASDAQ kind of, it doesn't have to sell, but it just doesn't lag. Right, QQQ finishing up just 5 basis points, and it sold off all day long. Look what the Russell did. It went the opposite way, right? Jaws started to snap the other way. Diamond went up all day long, right? S&P and the Qs backed off, right? So that is something that we have been looking for, and we've been looking for that to happen for a reason, because the hedge funds are, They already capitulated on their Q shorts like almost a month ago. They did not capitulate on the Russell or the Dow, and it looks like they're doing that now, which is important because we need them to capitulate for a top to come into place. So that is what we are, that's the crux of what I'm talking about here each and every day. So again, just be careful up here. No real major sell signal just yet. I mean, we had one a week or two ago. We can negate it with a weekly close above, we'll just call it 640, 639.85 for SPY, SPX 64.27. But if we pull back in, technically we would stay inside of that engulfing. So we need to, we'll see the end of the week. The weekly close will tell us a lot. But again, given the nature of how this works, it wouldn't surprise me if there's certain stocks, certain sectors like the Russell and the Dow. I think they're going to, and I've been saying this many times, the Dow's got to make a new all-time high before we can have a top, right? Especially if they can do it on Friday. They love to get the Dow to close at a new all-time high on Friday because it's still kind of like the old Wall Street index. And if they can do that, they can pump that headline out on a Friday in the summer, get everybody feeling good. So it does change sentiment. So in any case, that's kind of the long and short of it. We're going to get some PPI data tomorrow. We'll get some sentiment data and AIM tomorrow as well. That should be interesting. So again, still kind of yellow flag here. Definitely some caution. We're definitely hitting some major resistance. So if you know how, market maker and how the dealer is positioned, you know why that's resistance. But in any case, just be careful. SMH up 1.18. Nvidia down. Again, Nvidia down with the Russell up. And each of the last 4 days here, this has been seeing some pretty wide range sell bars here in the morning too. Actually, really for the last couple of weeks. I also think Apple and Nvidia. Here's a chart I was sharing earlier on X. But I talked about this a week ago. But, these jaws here will probably snap shut by the end of the year. So this is Apple versus Nvidia all time. And really, like I was saying, Nvidia's only outperformed it for the last couple of years, right? So we'll see if that remains the case or if the jaws come shut here and Apple retakes the throne. Either way, semis pulled back today. IGV, we've known that's been weak here. Yellow flag on that. Transports had a nice bounce back today. They did reclaim the 20. My concern, though, is that you still have a lot of room for a lower high here. So that's a little concerning. It's not, again, this isn't throw the baby out with the bathwater here. This isn't alarming, but, just be aware of these things. 2-year yield goes down, ZT up, and the 10-year down as well. Our TMF in the trading room, nice. That was a nice follow through. I wasn't expecting it to go up this high. We're nicely in the money on our runner. We got PPI tomorrow. I don't think TLT goes much through 88 though, unless something changes. We'll have to see what the OI looks like tomorrow. But I think it looks good here. It's supportive. Look at the bull flag. I mentioned that on ZB and ZT as well. So we are getting a September rate cut. That's a lock, and traders are pricing that in. Simple as that. XHB, again, we get a 25 basis point cut in XHP. Home builders are acting like it's party on here. Raise the roof. I guess that's all it takes. It's unbelievable. It's so underperformed for so long, and then just, really over the last couple of weeks, last week or so, just sneakily, really took off. Look at it versus, just for fun. Versus the S&P here, just over the last couple of weeks, it's really caught up. Actually, let's do, what are we trying to do here? Let's do a 3-month. Yeah. So it's caught up there. Anyway, IYR, it held up here. Little sweep of low and no follow through. This might go up, it might not. I don't really I just don't have a good read on it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. XLF did improve a little bit yesterday. We talked about that. It followed through today, so that's a positive for the market. So, excuse me, so is KRE. So weekly, you know, it lost that green bar, which I don't like, but, you know, the trend is still up, believe it or not. Broker dealers were down big today, but they managed to hold the lows of yesterday. Oil took a hit on inventories. I would get interested around 60 if it goes straight there. But it needs to go straight there. I don't want it chopping around and bear flagging first. One other sector that we've talked about lately, XLE. This pattern here is not good, right? It's not a good pattern on the daily. Come on. Trying to extend this out here. So you got the wedge breakdown, but here's the positive. You haven't followed through. So, you know, it's almost like it could be a failed breakdown here. And if we look at intraday, all of a sudden this just kind of took off towards the end of the day. Why is that? I think there's a good chance, like I've said, you get money to flow out of tech a lot of the time, it does move into energy. Again, we're going to spam the comparisons today. Why not? There's tech versus NDX, right? Obviously 2022, they went opposite. And even in the beginning of the year when the market was down and kind of chopping, XLE was up first quarter until Liberation Day. So, and even kind of right here, look at like the Qs were choppy in quarter one. XLE took off, in 2024, right? Even right here in that 2023 pullback, XLE, right? So, hated sectors are doing well right now. We'll see if it can reclaim 86, then, it could squeeze up. XOP, same look. OIH, same look. OIH surprisingly has the higher lows. Dollar losing 98, but there's your trend line there. PPI will be interesting. If this spikes that trend line a little bit more and then reclaims it, I think the dollar could actually be along again. Usually the third hit of a trend line is a pierce. So gold didn't hit I was really hoping it would get to 305 on GLD today for a little day trade, but it ended up being higher. This is really strong. GDX kind of chopping around, but it broke out like a week ago. Silver, that was strong today too, up 1.5. Higher lows. Platinum, a lot of volatility and then none. This has a chance to get like a little zigzag up here though. But it's platinum, so I don't know. It's a little unreliable. Palladium's a little softer, obviously. And then copper still flirting with 450. No changes there. ETH still the rock star. Up another 3, and this is, it's going to go to all-time highs. It's going to go to double top here. It's, we talked about that the other day. It's almost there now. What is this? I mean, what is it like? That's like $100 away, right? It's 48, 68. We're at, it's 150 bucks. Bitcoin up 2%, new all-time high. So remember, I said don't make too much out of this little shooting star. I know a lot of people did. I would have been like, okay, just give it like a week, and then it took 2 days, and it just went through that. So I still don't think IBIT necessarily goes through 70 though. So that might pull back tomorrow. That's not to say that's a short, but I'm just saying. So anyway, again, same kind of situation here. Just be a little careful here. Trim gains on the way up, advanced stop on the way up. Don't be buying anything that's a high flyer. Buy quality names that are on discount, and I think you'll be okay. Or at least, increase hedges if you're going to not take gains. So anyways, guys, that's it. I'll wrap it up here, and you guys take care. Don't forget to come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I'll see you guys all tomorrow.